I stood in my own dining room, hands trembling as I set the plate of roasted chicken before my mother-in-law. She lifted the lid, stared at the 2 small pieces of chicken, and slammed it shut like I had insulted her entire bloodline. The sound echoed through the house, sharp and final. Then she spat the words that would change everything. "No wonder you can't give my son a male child. Gold digger. Opportunist. Feeding your family with my son's money while starving us." For a moment, everything around me went silent. My nanny froze in the kitchen doorway. My daughters stared wide-eyed from the hallway, their small faces confused and frightened. I felt my throat close, my chest tighten. And then Mama delivered the final blow, the one that ripped the air from my lungs. "His new wife is already pregnant. She will join him here in December. Pack your things." The plate slipped from my fingers, but I caught it. My vision blurred. The room tilted slightly. "My name is Avery Logan. I am 34 years old. And this is how my marriage died before my eyes. I need to take you back to understand how I got here. 6 years ago, I was a marketing consultant building my career from the ground up. My mother raised me alone after my father left, and she taught me one crucial lesson: never depend entirely on anyone else. When I met Mason, he was working as a car washer at a local garage. He had gentle eyes and a quiet humility that drew me in. He never pretended to be more than he was. I respected that honesty, that groundedness. We married within a year. And slowly, piece by piece, I helped him build a life he could be proud of. The boutique that now carries his name? I funded it with my savings. The car he drives? I bought it. The house we live in? I made the down payment and covered the mortgage for 3 years until the boutique became profitable. But I never told his family the full truth. I let Mason take credit. I thought it would protect his pride, preserve his dignity in front of his relatives. That was my first mistake. Mama arrived 3 days ago, unannounced and unsmiling. She walked past me at the door without returning my greeting, her face carved in stone. I tried offering her water, tried asking about her journey from the village. She waved me away like I was a servant interrupting her thoughts. Something felt wrong immediately. Mama had always been warm with me before, praising me as the blessing that changed her son's fortunes. But now her eyes held something cold and sharp. She dragged her suitcase to the guest room and slammed the door. Through the wood, I heard her muttering to herself in her language, words too low for me to catch but filled with anger. My nanny whispered, "Madam, Mama is not happy." I nodded, a knot forming in my stomach. I felt something dark approaching, like storm clouds gathering on a clear day. I tried to shake the feeling, tried to tell myself I was overreacting. But deep down, I knew better. When Mason came home that evening, Mama emerged from her room like she had been waiting by the door. She grabbed his arm and pulled him into her room before he could even greet me properly. The door closed with a decisive click, and I heard the lock turn. 4 hours. They stayed locked in that room for 4 hours. I sat in the living room, pretending to watch television while my heart hammered against my ribs. Occasionally, I heard raised voices, muffled arguments seeping through the walls. Mama's tone was sharp and insistent. Mason's responses were quieter, defensive. I fed the girls dinner, bathed them, put them to bed. Still, the door remained closed. When Mason finally emerged, his eyes looked hollow, like something inside him had been scooped out. He refused to meet my gaze. I asked what was wrong. "It's nothing," he mumbled, brushing past me toward our bedroom. But I felt the shift, the crack forming in the foundation of our marriage. Something was breaking. The next morning, Mason rushed out early, barely touching his breakfast. Before leaving, he paused at the door and delivered a warning that made my blood run cold: "Don't disturb Mama today. Just stay out of her way. Not Mama isn't feeling well or let her rest. No. Stay out of her way." Like I was the problem. Like I was the intruder in my own home. "What's going on?" I asked, following him to the door. He shook his head, avoiding my eyes again. Just do as I say, Avery. Please. Then he was gone, leaving me standing there with a sick feeling spreading through my chest. I realized in that moment that he was not protecting me. He was choosing sides. And I was not on his side anymore. I spent the morning tiptoeing around my own house, keeping the girls quiet, asking the nanny to prepare meals without making noise. We moved like ghosts, afraid to disturb the woman sleeping behind the closed door. Around noon, Mama finally emerged. Her face was still set in that hard expression, her movements sharp and deliberate. I had prepared lunch, rice, vegetables, and roasted chicken. I served her plate carefully, making sure everything looked presentable. She sat down, lifted the lid, and her face immediately tightened. 2 pieces? Only 2 pieces of chicken? I tried to explain, keeping my voice gentle. I saved more for the children. They will eat when they come home from school. I can get you more if. She cut me off with a wave of her hand. You feed your children like kings while starving your husband's mother? This is how you show respect? Mama, that's not. Lazy. Greedy. Useless as a wife. Her voice rose with each word, loud enough to make the walls vibrate. The nanny fled to the kitchen. Then Mama stood, her finger jabbing toward my face. My son is done with you. A real wife is already pregnant. A real wife is coming to give us what you could not. My legs felt weak. I gripped the edge of the table to steady myself. What are you talking about? Mama pulled out her phone with a triumphant smile. She scrolled through her photos, then thrust the screen toward my face. There he was. Mason. My husband. Dressed in full traditional wedding attire, standing beside a young woman I had never seen before. She wore elaborate robes and jewelry, her hand resting on a visible baby bump. They were surrounded by relatives, all smiling, all celebrating. 6 months ago, Mama said, watching my face closely. A proper wedding. A proper wife. She will give us sons. My jaw went numb. My vision blurred at the edges. I scrolled through more photos, each one a knife twisting deeper. Mason cutting a cake. Mason holding the woman's hand. Mason looking happy in a way he had not looked with me in years. How? My voice came out as a whisper. Mama's smile widened. You thought you were irreplaceable? You are nothing. I could not move. Could not breathe. The phone was still in Mama's hand, the photos still glowing on the screen. She leaned closer, her voice dropping to something almost gentle, which made it worse. I am not unreasonable, Avery. I will give you a choice. You can accept her as second wife. Stay here, keep your place, raise your daughters quietly. Do not cause trouble. She paused, letting the words sink in. Or you can leave. Take your girls and go. You can keep them. They are useless to our lineage anyway. We do not need daughters. We need sons. My heart shattered into dust. My daughters. My beautiful, brilliant daughters. Useless. Everything I had sacrificed, everything I had built, everything I had given to this family meant nothing because I had not produced a male child. Some tiny, stubborn part of me whispered through the pain, this is not the end. But in that moment, it felt like the world was collapsing. Then Mama kept talking, and the truth came spilling out like poison. Do you know what pushed my son to do this? Do you know what made us realize you were stealing from him? I said nothing. I could barely process her words. I saw your mother, she continued, her voice dripping with accusation. 2 months ago, when I visited the market. New clothes. New shoes. New hairstyle. Gold earrings. Living like a queen while my son struggles to maintain his business. Understanding dawned slowly. You think Mason paid for that? Who else? You have been feeding your family with our money. Taking what belongs to my son and giving it to your people while we suffer. I almost laughed. The irony was so sharp it cut. Every single thing Mama was accusing me of was backwards. Mason had not given my mother anything. I had. With my money. Money I earned from my consulting work, money I had saved and invested carefully over the years. But Mama did not know that. Mason had never told her. He had let her believe he was the provider, the successful businessman, the generous husband. I did not argue. I did not explain. What was the point? Mama had already decided I was guilty. Mason had already replaced me. The life I thought we were building together was a lie. I walked to our bedroom, pulled out 2 suitcases, and began packing. My daughter's clothes. Their favorite toys. My own essentials. I moved mechanically, my mind strangely calm despite the chaos in my chest. Mama watched from the doorway with satisfaction, arms folded across her chest. She thought she had won. She thought she was watching me run away in defeat. The girls came home from school and found me packing. "Mama, where are we going?" my youngest asked, her voice small and worried. "On an adventure," I said, forcing a smile. "Just for a little while." I loaded everything into my car. Mama stood on the porch like a queen surveying her conquered territory. As I drove away, she waved, almost cheerfully. But she did not know what I knew. She did not understand what she had just lost. I checked us into a hotel across town. The girls thought it was exciting at first, jumping on the beds, exploring the room. I ordered room service and let them watch cartoons while I sat on the small balcony, finally allowing myself to think clearly. Then I opened my small security box, the one I kept with important documents. Inside was everything Mason had never bothered to understand or even look at properly. The property deed to our house. In my name only. The car ownership papers. In my name. The business registration for the boutique. Registered under my name as sole proprietor, with Mason listed only as manager. Bank statements showing every transfer I had made to fund the business, the house, our life together. I spread the documents across the hotel bed and stared at them. A strange calm washed over me, replacing the earlier panic. For the first time since Mama had shown me those photos, I felt something other than pain. I felt power. I called my mother. She arrived within an hour, her face creased with worry. When she saw me, tears filled her eyes. She wrapped her arms around me without asking questions first, just held me while I finally let myself cry. When I could speak, I told her everything. The accusations. The secret wedding. The pregnant woman. The ultimatum. My mother listened, her hand gripping mine. I expected anger, expected her to curse Mason and his family. But instead, when I finished, she cupped my face gently and looked into my eyes. "Avery, listen to me carefully. Do not fight them with anger. Do not fight them with your emotions. They expect you to scream and cry and beg." She paused, her voice firm and steady. "Fight them with truth. Fight them with the law. Show them what they have lost by throwing you away." Her words settled into my bones. She was right. Mama and Mason wanted me to be the hysterical, bitter wife. They wanted drama so they could paint me as unreasonable. I would not give them that satisfaction. The next morning, I contacted my accountant. I had used him for my consulting business, and he knew my financial history well. I requested a full audit of the boutique's expenses going back 2 years, receipts, invoices, withdrawals, everything. "I need to see every transaction," I said. "Especially cash withdrawals and transfers to external accounts." He promised to have preliminary results within 48 hours. While I waited, I made a list of every asset tied to my name, every payment I had made, every document I held. The audit results came back faster than expected. My accountant called with concern in his voice. "Avery, there are some irregularities here. Large cash withdrawals with vague descriptions. Multiple transfers to a secondary bank account that is not connected to the business expenses. Whose account? I asked, though I already knew. It's registered to Mason. It looks like he has been redirecting business profits into his personal account for the last 8 months. My chest tightened. Not just betrayal in marriage. Financial betrayal too. How much total? The number he gave me made my hands shake. That evening, I received a call from an unexpected source, Mason's cousin, a woman named Beatrice who lived in their hometown. We had met a few times at family gatherings. She had always been kind to me, quieter than the others. "Avery, I need to tell you something," she said, her voice nervous. I should have said this earlier, but I was afraid of causing trouble. "Tell me what?" She took a deep breath. "The girl Mason married? She was not pregnant when they had the wedding ceremony. I was there. I saw everything. She was thin, no visible bump." My mind raced. "But the photos Mama showed me. Taken 2 weeks ago. Mama insisted Mason must create a male heir immediately because your daughters did not count. She pushed them together constantly. The pregnancy came after the wedding, not before. The manipulation went even deeper than I imagined. Mama had orchestrated everything, the wedding, the pressure for a son, the timing. There is something else," Beatrice continued quietly. "People are talking in the village. They say Mama is obsessed with male heirs because her own father favored sons. She was treated badly her whole life for being female. Now she does the same thing to others." Late that night, my phone buzzed. "Mason." My first instinct was to ignore it, but I answered. Maybe I needed to hear his voice, to confirm this was really happening. "Avery." He sounded tired, strained. No greeting, no concern about where I was or how the girls were doing. "What do you want, Mason?" "Mama wants the house. She needs the space ready for when the new wife arrives. Bring the keys tomorrow." I almost laughed. The audacity was stunning. The house he thought he could just claim, just redistribute like furniture. "The house," I repeated slowly. "Yes. Do not make this difficult. You can find another place. Something smaller, more appropriate for your situation." My situation. Like I was the one who had destroyed our marriage. Like I was the one who needed to adjust. "I will think about it," I said calmly, then hung up. I sat in the dark hotel room, my daughter sleeping peacefully beside me. And I made my decision. No more protecting Mason's pride. No more hiding the truth. Tomorrow, everything would change. I spent the night planning carefully. Not revenge out of anger, but strategy out of necessity. I made a detailed list of every asset legally tied to my name, every document I possessed, every right I held. The house, purchased with my down payment, mortgage paid by me for 3 years. Deed in my name only. The boutique, business registration in my name. Initial capital from my savings. All major purchases documented under my accounts. The car, title in my name. Payments made from my bank account. Then I listed the legal steps I would need to take, changing locks, revoking business access, consulting a divorce lawyer, filing for full custody of my daughters. I called my lawyer first thing in the morning. She listened to my story without interruption, and when I finished, she said, "You have an extremely strong case. Your husband has committed bigamy, which is illegal. And you have documentation proving ownership of all contested assets. How quickly can we move? If you are certain, we can begin today." I thought of my daughters. I thought of the life I deserved. "I am certain." The next morning, I walked into the boutique unannounced. Employees looked up in surprise. Some smiled nervously. Others froze. The manager, a young man Mason had hired 3 months ago, rushed toward me. "Mrs. Avery. We were not expecting you today." "I know." I kept my voice calm and professional. I need to see the register, the accounts, and the complete staff list. He hesitated, glancing toward Mason's office. Mr. Mason usually handles. I am aware of what Mr. Mason usually handles. But I am the owner of this business. Bring me the documents I requested. The word owner rippled through the room. Employees exchanged glances. The manager's face paled. Right away, ma'am. While he gathered everything, I walked through the boutique slowly, noting inventory, observing the layout, checking displays. This was my business. I had funded it, nurtured it, watched it grow. And now I was taking it back. When the documents arrived, I reviewed them carefully. Then I addressed the staff clearly. Effective immediately, all financial withdrawals require my signature. Any questions about this policy can be directed to me. Mason burst through the door 10 minutes later, his face flushed with panic and anger. Someone had clearly called him immediately. He stormed toward me, not caring who was watching. What do you think you are doing? He shouted. You cannot just walk in here and... And what, Mason? Manage my own business? Your business? I built this. I run this every day while you... I pulled out the business registration document from my bag and placed it on the counter between us. Read the name on this paper. Whose name do you see? He stared at it. His mouth opened, closed. The color drained from his face. Avery Logan, I said quietly. Sole proprietor. You are listed as manager. An employee. And employees can be replaced. The room was completely silent. Every staff member was watching, absorbing the truth they had never known. Mason's hands trembled. You planned this. You have been planning to take everything from me. No, Mason. I built everything. You just forgot that part. I left the boutique and drove directly to the house. Mama was waiting on the porch, arms crossed, face set in that familiar expression of superiority. She had clearly been expecting me to arrive with the keys, ready to surrender. About time, she said as I approached. Give me the keys. We have cleaning to do before the new wife arrives. I held up the keys, dangling them in the sunlight. Mama reached for them. I placed them in her palm. She looked surprised by my compliance, almost disappointed that I had not fought. Good. At least you know when you are defeated. You will need to return them soon, I said calmly. Return them? Why would we return them? Because the house is going on the market next month. I have already contacted a real estate agent. Mama froze. Her fingers tightened around the keys. What are you talking about? This is Mason's house. Actually, it is my house. My name on the deed. My mortgage payments. Mine to sell whenever I choose. I turned to leave, and Mason appeared in the doorway behind Mama. His face was pale, his eyes wide with growing understanding. I walked away before either of them could speak. Word spread quickly through the community. Neighbors began whispering. Relatives started asking questions. The carefully constructed story of Mason as the successful provider began to crumble under the weight of truth. Mama's confidence cracked first. She called Mason's siblings, trying to rally support, but they had questions now too. They had seen the documents. They had heard the employees confirm my ownership of the boutique. How did we not know this? Mason's brother demanded during a family phone call that I heard about later through Beatrice. Mama had no good answer. She tried to deflect, tried to blame me for hiding the truth. But the facts were undeniable. Her grand plan, her vision of replacing me with a younger wife who would produce male heirs, suddenly had no foundation. No house. No financial stability. No thriving business to support a second family. The pressure built steadily, and I watched from a distance as their perfect scheme unraveled thread by thread. Beatrice called again. Her voice was hesitant. Avery, there is something else you should know. I only just found out myself. Tell me. The new wife, she lost the pregnancy. It happened 2 weeks ago. My breath caught. What? She miscarried. Early second trimester. Mama is hiding it from everyone. They are continuing the lie because they thought they still needed your assets. They planned to get her pregnant again quickly and pretend it was the same baby. I felt sick. Not because I wished suffering on the woman, but because the depth of manipulation was stunning. They were willing to build their entire future on lies and stolen property. That was my final breaking point. I had given Mason and his mother chances to be honest, opportunities to discuss this like adults. They had chosen deception at every turn. I decided to close every remaining door they thought they could walk through. I returned to the boutique the following Monday with my lawyer. We had prepared all necessary paperwork over the weekend. I called a staff meeting and addressed everyone clearly. Due to recent discoveries of financial irregularities and unauthorized transactions, I am making immediate changes to management. Mason is being removed from all positions within this company, effective today. Mason was not there for the announcement. I had specifically scheduled it while he was out. But when he returned an hour later, security stopped him at the door. I am sorry, sir, the guard said, clearly uncomfortable. I have instructions that you are no longer permitted in the building. Employees watched through the windows as Mason argued, his face red, his voice carrying across the parking lot. But the guard held firm. After several minutes, Mason stormed to his car and drove away. I watched from my office window, feeling nothing. The man I had loved, the man I had built a life with, was someone I no longer recognized. That afternoon, I filed for divorce. My lawyer submitted a comprehensive petition documenting everything, the bigamy, the financial irregularities, the hidden accounts, the documented evidence of Mason's second marriage. I requested full custody of our daughters, supported by evidence that Mason had abandoned them without concern for their welfare. I listed every asset I had personally funded and provided documentation for each one. Within 48 hours, Mason was served with papers at his mother's house. According to Beatrice, he read them 3 times, his hands shaking. The reality of what he was about to lose finally sinking in. He called me immediately. Avery, please. We can work this out. We can talk about this. There is nothing to talk about, Mason. You made your choice. You married another woman while still married to me. You stole from our business. You abandoned your daughters. I never wanted it to go this far. Mama pushed. You are an adult, Mason. You made these decisions yourself. I hung up. He called back repeatedly, but I blocked his number. 2 days later, Mama showed up at the hotel. Somehow she had found out where I was staying. She knocked on my door frantically, and when I opened it, I barely recognized her. Her face was puffy from crying, her clothes wrinkled. The powerful matriarch had become a desperate, frightened woman. Avery, please. We can fix this. Please do not do this to us. Do what, Mama? Tell the truth? Protect what is mine. You are destroying my son. He will have nothing. He already has nothing. He just did not realize it. She grabbed my arm, switching between insults and pleas. You are heartless. You planned this from the beginning. You trapped my son. Please, I am begging you. But it was too late. The papers were filed. The assets were secured. The truth was documented. I gently removed her hand from my arm. You called my daughters useless, Mama. You said they did not count because they were not sons. That is when you lost any right to my mercy. I closed the door. 6 months passed. I sold the house and bought a smaller, more practical home for my daughters and me. I closed the boutique and opened a new business under my name alone, specializing in marketing consultation for small businesses. My client list grew quickly. My daughters thrived. They asked about their father occasionally, but children adapt faster than we expect. They were happy, safe, loved. My mother smiled again, no longer worried about my future. As for Mason and Mama? Through Beatrice, I heard they now lived together in a small rented apartment 2 towns away. The new wife had left him after the miscarriage, returning to her family. Mason could not afford to support 2 households, and Mama refused to return to the village in shame. They blamed each other constantly for losing everything. Mama blamed Mason for being weak. Mason blamed Mama for pushing him into decisions he could not afford. I did not gloat. I did not seek updates. I simply moved forward, building the life I deserved. I had not screamed. I had not fought dirty. I had not become the bitter, hysterical woman they expected. I had simply walked away with what was always mine, my dignity, my strength, and my future. And that was the revenge they never saw coming.